Good afternoon and welcome back. This is US Home Talk. We are live every Wednesday at noon and on demand at ushometalk.com or anywhere and everywhere you find your podcasts. We are your hosts, Marcus Walgrave with South Dakota Home Team, powered by Hague Realtors, Jason Walgrave, the Walgrave Real Estate Group, and the Minnesota Real Estate Team at Remax Advantage Plus, and Mike Ouverson with Illuminate Home Loans. We'll be taking all your questions during the show today. Anything and everything real estate. The call-in number is 612-234-7585, or leave us a message in the comments section on Facebook. We'll also be answering questions that we received via email or through our real estate hotline throughout the week as well. So good afternoon, gentlemen. How are we doing today?
Doing pretty good, Marcus. Hey, I got a question for you. You said your Hague Realtors, so it's powered by Hague Realtors. How much power you guys got over there? Is that like a horsepower rating?
Power.
It is
number one power.
Like off the charts power, like it's unmeasurable power.
It's up to 11, if you're wondering.
Oh,
we surpassed 10 and we are now 11. So
that's impressive. I like that.
It's real deal power.
You got bonus power. It's good. It's a good day, boys.
It is a good day. We we've kind of been joking here the last 3-4 weeks about, I guess not really necessarily entirely joking, but about how spring's here. Spring's definitely here for the real estate industry. It may not necessarily feel that way, depending on what day you're asking somebody when they're outside. Jason, our brother Derek, I think sent us a group text earlier in the week, something about like asking Mother Nature, can we have 4 seasons in 1 week? And then Mother Nature says, no, we can't do that. And then the state of Minnesota says, well, hold my beer. and then I think that's what we went from. We went from blizzard, to high 80s. Right back to like a normal spring, cold, rainy day. And then it felt like fall, and it was all happening in like a 10-day window. So kind of keeps you on your toes. Yeah.
I've never seen a swing that impressive. Much. We literally went from a blizzard on a Saturday to the very next Wednesday. After that, we were almost 90 degrees.
Yeah.
And then the Sunday after that, we had 3 to 4 inches of snow again. Unreal. It was crazy.
We were lucky to dodge the snow. I'm glad. I'm sick of snow. I saw it looks like maybe Fargo or like northern Minnesota. Maybe is it today or the next like 48, 72 hours? They're going to get snow again. It's like, oh man, like that's
I saw that.
That's not good. We had a nice April shower last night that pushed through, and I'm not certain how much we got. I haven't had a chance to put out my rain gauge yet. But we're staying above that 32 mark, and we're just seeing rain. We're not seeing any of the white stuff, thank goodness. And we got green grass. My neighbors have been busting out their lawnmowers. I kind of went around and did a little landscaping and clean up some of the decorative grass and bushes and try to prune some things back. And I'm ready. I'm ready for things to happen. I know my kids are like, when are the flowers going to come? And they're like, they're coming. There's going to be some trees out there that are going to sprout some pretty flowers here real soon.
Hey, Marcus,
it's on the way.
Do you know how you know when you're turning into your parents? When you mentioned on a radio show that you haven't got your rain gauge out yet.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
That was the first thing that came to mind. I haven't got my rain gauge out yet. I'm like, that's your dad talking, right? Like
that does kind
of
feel Marcus. Like Mark, doesn't it? A little. A lot of our if you have a sprinkler system, you have the those little gauges that they hang on the gutters to kind of keep record of that stuff. But
that's right, yeah.
It gets a little windy here in Sioux Falls, South Dakota, and sometimes those blow off. So I have to default to the tried and true old school stick it in the ground rain gauge that always measures the rain perfectly.
Right. Yeah. Perfectly. I mean, not I was gonna say, not to beat a dead horse, but so just going back to the weather thing. So this was the first year that I was able to walk across my lake. So I walked on Monday. So a week ago Monday, there was enough ice where I walked all the way across our lake and back to my house. Didn't fall through, didn't crack, nothing. That Thursday, completely open, ice was all gone. So in a matter of 3 days, it was thick enough for me to walk on, and then all gone the next 3 days later.
When you did make your walk, Mike, did you have anything like some picks, just in case if you did go for a little polar swim? Or
I'd rubber boots on. Does that help?
I don't think they float.
Okay, that's all I had on.
I don't think that they would have maybe,
like concrete boots. That's gonna do.
Well, that's the Minnesota Mafia.
It was like 70 degrees.
Boots on you. They just send you out on the frozen lake in April with rubber boots on, and
I had rubber boots and board shorts and a visor on. That's all I had. It was 70 degrees and sunny. I was like, this is great out here.
Did you do any fishing, or
no,
kept it recreational hiking?
It was just recreational hiking at that point. It was, it was fun. It was good. It's just the weirdest thing ever, right? It's just so weird that happens, where you can walk on ice one day and 3 days later it's all gone, and you got boats on the lake.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty wild. Thursday was wild. Tanian was out in California at Cal State running a track meet out there, and so I called her. It was 1 o'clock, 2 o'clock our time, and I'm like, man, it's nice today. It's like 85 degrees. I said, what's the temperature out there? 50.
Oh.
So she gets the opportunity to go out to California in the spring and runs at 50 degrees, which actually, I'm like, hey, look, you got a huge advantage. As California athletes are not used to running 50, you are. And sure enough, she ran an all-time PR that day in the hurdles. Is pretty awesome. So
nice.
Yeah, it definitely is an advantage. I mean, you definitely see that in some of the big meets that you have and track and field meets that you have. I'm sure really probably anything outdoor. I mean, you kind of hear of like, even when you start getting into the football seasons and the big football programs, and it's, if a Southern team has to come up to, maybe Michigan or play Notre Dame or, Ohio State. And if they're, and it's one of those just crummy, cold, rainy days, it's tough. And the same token, I mean, when you go down south and you're not, heat acclimated, you can get dehydrated pretty quick and cramp up pretty quick. So, but I think we can all agree that you'd rather have a cramp than, because of the heat than freezing cold toes and
I'd rather have a cramp than frostbite.
Yeah, cramp than frostbite. Yeah, I think that's a everybody would agree to that. So we're going to have a great show today. We're going to be talking about some market updates and kind of focusing on some first-time home buyer information. And then, at the later of the part of the show, before we wrap things up, we're just going to touch on some national news and some local news. So, one thing that I find, super interesting, Mike and Jason, is when we look at first-time home buyers, a lot of it is made up of the millennials. But we are starting to see that Gen Z come into the picture. I was just looking at kind of the birth year ranges for what Gen Z qualifies for. And, there are some Gen Zs out there that are in their mid 20s and early 20s. And, they're super savvy. They're super savvy when it comes to the concept of investing in real estate. So, they're trying to get into the game early. But it's kind of one thing that I found. I read an article earlier this week. I'm a member of our local Home Builders Association, and by being a member of that, I get these weekly newsletters from the National Association of Home Builders, and about usually like once a month, the e-newsletter is housing headlines is what the subject is called, and they kind of just whatever ones that either grabbed their attention that they felt was relevant, as part of this email, and I like to kind of go through it. National Association of Home Builders, that's a pretty good group of individuals. And so I think it's interesting if they find, an article interesting, whether, not knowing why they find it interesting, but if they found it interesting, I better kind of take a peek at it too and read it over. And the one that kind of came up here was it was a USA Today by Bailey Schultz, and it was more millennial households, own than rent. And here's where they're buying. It kind of broke down like big cities in terms of or metros, big city metros where they're buying, or parts of the throughout the nation where they're buying. And I was just kind of going through the article, and one thing that kind of caught my attention, a stat that was out there, was according to Rent Cafe, the number of millennial households that own their home in these areas jumped by 7 million over the past 5 years to 18.2 million in 2022. Now, I know, we have been getting this information, for many years now. Millennials are primed to start buying homes. They're at their the prime age to when they're start to purchasing home. They're getting out of the rental sector, and they want to get into home ownership. And so it was interesting just to see that, that last year that there was a big jump, finally kind of pushed over the majority of the millennials are now homeowners, and at 18.2 million, and compared to 17.2 million millennials renter households. So I thought that was, kind of a cool stat, an interesting stat. It kind of went on to talk about some other things as well, and it's just to give some comparison. I think everybody, you hear stat, and it's like, okay, well, let's compare it against something, so we kind of have a better idea of why you find it interesting. And it was talking about baby boomers. So baby boomers ages 59 to 77 this year continue to dominate the housing market, which I'm sure you guys have noticed it as well. I have, especially it seemed like during COVID, those baby boomers, I mean, they were kicking butt, they were kicking butt, especially with their cash offers and buying second homes, and maybe in some cases third homes. Very, financially savvy, generational group. And in these markets there, we had 32 million homeowner households, and Gen X, which is 43 to 58 years of age, were 24 million homeowners, households, in those areas. So just kind of interesting to see the millennials at, about 18 million. The Gen X were at 24, and then the baby boomers, really kicking butt at the 32 million. And so you see that information. It's like, okay, we've been hearing millennials been wanting to get into the real estate ownership game for here in the last several years, especially in the last 3 to 4. Obviously some big hurdles that nobody saw coming. COVID being one of them, student loan debt kind of being another factor. And when we look at it, it's like, okay, well, during these times, what has pushed these millennials into making this move is, and one thing that I see is they're finally looking at it and say, hey, maybe I've finally been able to pay off my student loan debt. They're in their early 30s, and maybe they're finally able to get that debt paid off, and now they're like, we need to start build some equity, and they see that is a great opportunity to do that with home ownership. So that's one of those areas where millennials are going to be a force to be reckoned with when it comes to real estate here in the upcoming years, and that opportunity to increase their equity is top of mind.
Yep. And I think we'll see more of a shift too, once interest rates come down a little bit, because interest rates and home prices have gone up in the last 12 months, right? Both have gone up, continue to go up. Their interest rates are on the downward trend right now, which is good, which we expected, right? But rents have gone up, and they've gone up just as much as the cost of owning a home has, maybe even a little bit more. So now, as you know, they're both rents and owning, you know, the costs have gone up. Well, now as interest rates come down, the cost of owning starts coming down. I don't see rents coming down with it, to be honest with you. I think rents are going to stay high. And so now we're going to see more people as that gap grows where owning a home is more and more affordable. We're going to see more of those millennials and stuff jump in, more Gen Z?
Yeah, millennials would be Gen
For
Y,
sure.
would they?
Yeah. Anyway, the younger crowd, right? The younger group, we're going to see more and more of those jump in because they're going to see it's like, dang, I rent that house. It's going to cost me $2,500 a month. But if I buy that house, I can get in my payments only $2,100.
Yeah. Right.
So.
And that was kind of, that wasn't just like happened last couple months. I mean, that's been maybe the last couple years where, millennials or first time home buyers are starting to see that, they're seeing the, man, my rent's it's getting up there.
Yeah.
Well, how much, what it would be to own a house? And then they start doing a little research online and you see some of those calculators but we always talk about how important it is to reach out to your professional and I know Mike, somebody like yourself, if you're a prospecting buyer out there, maybe first time home buyer, and you are just looking to become more educated, you don't have to feel intimidated to reach out to somebody like Mike and say, hey, Mike, I'm just interested in buying home. I don't know if I can do this now, or if this might have to be in a couple years. Can you give me some information, coming from the professional? And, it's kind of falling, like we always joke about the Midwest nice. And in these situations, like you just need to put that aside and understand that Mike works with a ton of individuals with the idea that this individual, may not buy for 12 months. But Mike's still there to help and provide, great information.
Yep. A lot of people start there. They just have no idea. Like, I don't know where to start. I don't even know what I can afford. Can you help me with that? Our motto is it's never too early to start. Let's see where you're sitting at today. And if you're in a good position and you can move forward and buy a house and it works for you, because life happens. So maybe you can be in position to buy, but maybe you're like, you know what? I might be transferring for my job in the next 6 to 12 months. Does it make sense for me to buy? Yeah, probably not in that situation. Let's make sure it's like, okay, no, I'm going to stay here now. Like my job said, I'm going to stay here. I know I'm going to be here for the long term. Now I'm ready to buy, whatever the case may be. But it's never too early to just figure out where you sit today. Right. And then if it makes sense in your life plan to buy a home because you're going to be here for a while, great. Let's move forward and do it now. If it's down the road, that's fine too. But at least you know where you're sitting today. And it gives us time to work on certain things if certain things need to be worked on.
Yeah. Maybe you need to move finances around, or you need to move, debt around and do all of how you're doing your payments. So there's time to adjust your credit score and then giving you more options. And so we talk about that all the time, whether you want to buy in 5 weeks or 5 months or 5 years, we want to talk to you right now, today. And so that, the sooner we talk to you, likely the more options we'll have for you.
Jason, you've been a full-time realtor for over 20 years. And, there was here, I got into real estate at the beginning of 2014, and the increase of the median sale price of homes, have seen healthy improvements year over year, and since 2014. I mean, in my market here in the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area, may have. You pull any year out, and that year would have likely beat like the national average for appreciation over the last 5 decades nationwide. But prior to when I got into the business in 2014, there's always kind of that the old saying, if you're going to be buying a house, you're going to need to own that house for X amount of years before you can sell it and break even. Now, a lot of individuals here, since I got into the business, that time duration could have been either cut in half or maybe even, a fourth as long as it needed to be to break even. So I think that's something where we may be looking forward here in the, over the next 10 years. I think we're going to see a much more, long-term average growth. And that mindset, kind of to your point, Mike, if you think that there's a chance that you might need to move or sell in 6 months, well, definitely buying is obviously not a good idea. Or even it's something where, we had a lot of individuals moving to the Sioux Falls, South Dakota area, never lived there before, and attractive about our market and our communities. If they came here from they were renting and they moved here and they were say, okay, well, we want to buy right at the gates. It's like, if you don't have any friends or family to keep you here, how confident are you going to be with that you'll still be in this city here in 18 months? If we went back to a year ago, then it's like, well, you could have probably sold in 12 months or 18 months and maybe made a couple bucks, but I think being smart and having that conversation saying, hey, I mean, what is your ultimate goal here? What's your short term? What's your long term? And then your professionals giving you the right information.
Right.
Yeah. The spot where it might make sense to buy regardless is that if you plan on keeping that property as an investment property, then buying, then that the whole time component goes away, right? If you're going to do a buy and hold deal, then it makes sense all around. There was a financial kind of like a, investment property seminar thing that I attended, and this is like 10 years ago, right? So this is a long time ago. Attended it 10 years ago. The main message of the guy was like, look, if you want to be a real estate investor, you go buy an investment property now. You don't wait to time the market. When the interest rates are at their lowest point, you don't wait to, so for the market to bottom out and home prices have come down. It's like, that's not how you do it. You're going to be missing out on all the benefits of owning a home along the way. He's like, if you want to be a true real estate investor, if you want to have investment properties, go pull up an MLS map, like the old school MLS map. So right, here's all the homes that are for sale. Throw a dart, and the one it lands on, go buy it. Yeah, that was his advice. And I think it's
good. It is. I mean, people ask, they ask often, when's a great time to buy? Yesterday was a great time to buy. Because in investment properties, we're going to do a whole show on investment properties sometime in the next few weeks. But on investment properties, it doesn't matter what the price is. It doesn't matter what your interest rate is. All that matters is how much rent is that property going to bring in, and will it offset your payment? And so, investors, they're the price is irrelevant and the interest rate is irrelevant. It's how much, it's income and expenses, right? And you take a look at the two of them. If you're buying investment property when the rates are higher, that's when you want to buy it, because if the numbers work when the rates are higher, imagine when you're able to refinance one day with a lower rate. Just increases your cash flow because your rents aren't going to go down. I mean, good grief, like you just talked about, Mike, the rents are astronomical in the Twin Cities right now. I mean, it is incredible to me what little you get for $2,000 a month, there's the inventory of homes for sale is historically low, but the inventory of rental properties available is even lower. It's less than 1% vacancy rate on rental properties. I mean, it is there's just not a lot of inventory out there. So
one of the other benefits, that people are looking for these first-time home buyers, and obviously they're not all millennials or the oldest of the Gen Zs. First-time home buyers, it doesn't discriminate against what generation you're in, but there's the tax benefits of home ownership as well, and I think with it being April 19th. Yesterday was tax day, so hopefully, you got all your taxes in on time, or if requested the extension or however that works. Thankfully, I've been able to get mine in. At the last minute. It's always, everybody loves taxes, right? And
happy day yesterday. Yesterday was a happy day for everybody.
I love paying taxes. I love doing taxes. All the paperwork for it. I wish it was tax day every day.
Yeah. I should have become a tax accountant.
Like Evan's just like
help people do taxes all year round. That'd be amazing.
We just need to record a Christmas album song, but instead of I wish it could be Christmas every day, it's I wish it could be tax day every day.
Yes. Yeah. It would be a huge hit. Absolutely.
I think with one thing with the taxes, it's and we're joking aside, it is something to where I don't feel bad about paying taxes. I feel actually blessed that I'm in a position where I do pay taxes. I think it reflects on kind of where you're at and with your career and your finances. So, but the preparing for taxes, I tell you what, that is something where every year it's like, okay, it gets to about December. I'm like, all right, once the holidays are done, I'm going to get this stuff done in like the middle of January. It's going to be done. I'm going to send it over to my CPA. I'm not going to have to stress about it. She's going to get back to me at first part of February. And then I'm done. I won't have to think about it. And then next thing you know, February's done and March comes around and gets kind of nutty with real estate. And then March is done and it's April. It's like, whoo, like I got 2 weeks. So. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great tax benefits, being a homeowner. So not only, are you looking to, increase your position of building equity, but taking advantage of tax benefits. Mike, you'd mentioned about the, potential of the rental income. And I just get this feeling like this is kind of like what the Gen Z is understanding. It's like, hey, do I really want to own a home? Kind of like the freedom of renting, being a renter and not a homeowner. But there's some really nice properties out there like twin homes or town homes, that kind of feel like a rental property, might have an HOA. So, they're not really having to take on too much of like the property maintenance burden, and they see that opportunity. They say, okay, well, I'm going to go ahead and I got 2 of my college buddies or girlfriends, and we're still super close because we just graduated. We're in our early 20s. We're just looking to dive into our careers, and we're not looking to go find an apartment that's a 1-bedroom, 1-bath and go live by ourselves. We're still close and we're still kind of living the young life, and we're just going to go ahead and still room together. And I, some of these Gen Zs that are, in their mid-20s, I think they see that opportunity saying, hey, I want to go ahead and buy something. And I kind of have a couple of friends that I know are likely will rent for me for the next 2 to 3 years. And, we're going to see how this plays out. And if it works out really good, I'm going to keep it and, maybe just step aside and fill it completely with renters and then go buy a single family home, with a significant other or whatever the situation might be. So, it's interesting to kind of see some of those things happen. I mean, obviously millennials are because of where they're at in their life, being, their prime age of buying, the average age is, I think it's like 30, 33, 34, something like that, so they have a little more life experience in play. And so they're kind of like, hey, we need to be doing this, even if we're not ready for a single family home, let's buy this townhome, twin home, multifamily type of home. And then when we're ready, if we decide we are enjoying this home ownership role, then we're going to keep it and, start building like a real estate portfolio.
Yeah, millennials definitely waited. If you look at the average age of their first home, and I think it's 34 years old. That is the longest any other generation has waited to purchase. Gen Zs are not going to wait that long. I mean, they're buying. Well, you look at Tay, for example. I mean, she bought her first house while in college, 19 years old. Went out and got 4 roommates. When she graduates college, she's going to add another bedroom, and that property will cash flow $2,000 a month. So imagine if we could go back, we graduate college, and we get $2,000 a month to put towards our house payment. I mean, what an incredible opportunity to, have, little to no housing expense, or you're just able to buy that much more house because you've got an extra $2,000 coming in every month. So, and you're right, Marcus, they are definitely, Gen Zs. So the millennials, a lot of the millennials, they saw, or they remember the crash, right? And so of 07, 08, 09 and 2010, they remember the turmoil that the real estate crash created, whether it's friends or family, or they just saw it, and so that's, one of the reasons why they've waited longer to buy, because they experienced the heartache of the real estate crash back then. But Gen Zs, they didn't experience any of that. They're too young, right? And so now they're looking at, and they have more access to more information and more knowledge, and we're getting those questions all the time with the first time home buyers, the younger ones, the Gen Zers. Want to know what it's going to cost me, but what's it going to rent for? And they're looking at it as an opportunity to, Mike, how many folks have we worked with over the years where, they're going to live there 2 years and they're going to buy another one, live there 2 years and buy another one. And they're just, they're these young folks that are building up their real estate portfolios, their future wealth through real estate, because they're looking beyond just the place to live. But we're going to live there now, and then it's going to become an investment property.
Yeah, I just met with someone last night, a younger buyer, 27 years old, just put a plan together. He's going to buy 6 properties in the next 5 years.
I love it.
So we put that plan together. This is what it looks like, right? Boom, boom, boom. Yep. Here's the steps. Here's the timing of it. Starting with the townhouse, moving our way up. So,
and I think, Jason, you kind of talked about the millennials, and for the most part, a lot of them, were not homeowners during, the housing crash. But one of the big factors on why they delayed it as long as they did was because, they went into, it was kind of the start of college tuition just skyrocketing. So when they got done with college, they had the largest student loan debt of all time for a generational group. And then guess what? We're in a great recession, and remember the university that said that your career, your degree was going to get you a $65,000 job. It's actually 30. So they came out of it with, we came out of it with a large amount of student loan debt, and with this idea that with these degrees we are going to be able to get high paying jobs, but all the employers were like, sorry, great recession, we're not going to pay you, we'll pay you half of that. And so they just, really got behind the 8 ball financially. Just kind of bad timing, and it is what it is. We're talking finance, and there's a lot of great life lessons that you can learn from events like that you can't really put a dollar amount onto it, and so, but yeah, it's definitely interesting to see how it's all playing out. And some of the other reasons why first time home buyers are wanting to become home buyers is there's that subjective considerations of home ownership. You start getting things like creative freedom. If you own your own home and you want to excluding maybe like a townhouse or a twin home, something that's multifamily, but if you want to paint it pink, you can. If you want to tear out a wall, you don't need to ask anybody's approval. You probably want to get some professional advice to make sure it's not like a load-bearing wall. But you can do what you want to do with it. You don't have to call your landlord and say, hey, this carpet, I think there's something living in it because it looks like it's 50 years old. Can you replace it, or can I replace it? You don't need to have those conversations. You can just do that whenever you want to do it. And so you got to get some exciting things. Especially in today's world, you watch like HGTV, and they got all these really cool renovation and updating ideas and concepts, and you get to do that stuff as a homeowner.
Yep.
some other things as well. I think we really saw this with during COVID, that maybe really shoved that millennial group into the market of saying, hey, we're done with renting. Kind of falls into privacy and space. Kind of where maybe if you're an individual that like to kind of keep on the run and get going and didn't mind bumping into 4 or 5 of your other residents that live in your complex, maybe that's something that you enjoy doing or whatever it might be. Home ownership gives you that chance to have a little bit more privacy. I mean, a lot of homes have their own private garage, and a lot of them are attached, where you can pull into your garage out of the elements, especially here in this past winter. I mean, I think anybody who did not have a garage or an attached garage, sure would have appreciated, something like that when it was as snowy as it was. And instead of getting out of your car and you got to spend, 15 minutes shoveling snow off your rooftop, you can just pull right out and start heading your way to work. So, the privacy and that improvement of space, very important. I think COVID kind of amplified that desire. And also I think one of and I've always said this, I'm a big believer that, real estate, the condition of real estate in a community will mirror how the community is. So if your community has a lot of healthy real estate, residential, commercial structures, it's most likely that community is a healthy one as well. And people want to belong to that. And so when if instead of saying, oh yeah, I rent down the street, it doesn't have the same belonging as you say, oh yeah, I'm your neighbor, just across the street, kitty corner, whatever it might be. And it's like, oh, I didn't know we're neighbors, and kind of you're part of the neighborhood, and you belong to something that you're putting down roots in. So a lot of value to that as well.
So then your neighbor's like, oh, so you're the one that painted your house pink.
Yeah, inside, painted the inside.
Oh, okay, sure. Hey, nice to meet you.
Yeah, right. Hey, you can definitely go both ways. So see, there's a lot. The first time home buyers. One of the things, okay, we're talking about first time home buyers. They're trying to get into it. They see the value. It's being talked about on podcasts like ours. You've seen a lot of the news articles about it. And we're kind of running into the affordability, issue. And that's kind of the, big hurdle that we have right now, whether it's, is it because, COVID, pushed up the prices? Is it because our inventory is so low? Cost of construction has increased, labor has increased, so that's, if affordability was more attractive today, I would say it's pretty safe to say that there would be a whole lot more real estate transactions happening right now. And so that affordability is kind of the hurdle, the major hurdle for a lot of individuals. But it just kind of goes back to, having the conversation with your professionals, your real estate professionals, your finance professionals, your mortgage professionals, and simply saying, hey, can I do this? Okay, I can't do it. Do you have any advice on what I need to do to make this happen? And if you're just willing to have those conversations, you're going to find out that there's a lot of good people out there that have a lot of good advice for you to achieve your real estate goals.
Yep.
The last thing I kind of wanted to touch on here, is some of the news, right? National news. And before the show started, we were kind of talking about some of these. I grabbed some articles that I found interesting, and I added the links, and I sent these links out to Mike and Jason here earlier in the weekend. And it's always just interesting. It's always interesting to see one article talk about one thing and another one talk about the other. And Mike, you kind of, asked me like, where'd you find this one from? And it's kind of just a interesting thing to see if you're going to just hop on Google and say, okay, I'm going to learn about real estate today. And it's like, probably not the best approach.
Right. Yeah. So the particular article was about rates. So the article heading read, 30-year mortgage rates fall to their lowest level in 2 months. And so then I looked at that. I'm looking at our rate chart. I'm like, well, if I look today, our rates are the worst that they have been since March 14th. So basically, we have to go back to March 14th to get rates where they're same today versus back then, right? So rates between March 14th and today have been better, right? But if you look at today, we don't have the best mortgage rates that we've seen in the last 2 months. We actually have the worst mortgage rates that we've seen in the last 5 weeks. So so that's what made me laugh. And I brought that up and I was like, oh, here we go again. We always talk about the media stuff, right? You got to be careful. You got to be careful what you believe and what you read on there, because a lot of times, like in this particular case, that news, they're reporting news from probably like 2 weeks ago, right? Mm-hmm. If you go back 2 weeks from today, yes, our rates were actually really good. We've just had a really bad slide in the last 2 weeks where rates have gone up. So the market has gone down, which pushes rates up. So 2 weeks ago, they're heading probably the case, probably pretty true that it was the best rates that we had seen in the last 2 months. Okay. But if they're reporting that today, they're 2 weeks behind, right? And today we have the worst mortgage rates that we've seen since March 14th.
Yeah, and so like time sensitive when it comes to real estate, whether it's rates or what homes are doing. I think the other thing, the link I put on there that I thought, Jason, you'd find interesting was this was thehill.com. Their subject was home prices are soaring. So what does that mean for buyers? And then Barron's.com, and these are within a couple of days apart, articles that were published on their websites. Barron's.com says home prices are falling. Where can you find that happening? So it's just like, within like hours of each other, one source is saying they're soaring and the other saying that they're falling. And we look at like the Sioux Falls market, and that's local.
What's interesting.
Go ahead. Sorry.
The home prices.
Oop, you're cutting in and out a little bit, Jace.
Nope.
What was that? Maybe we lost him.
No, we did lose him. We lost him. He'll be back. Don't worry. but I think one thing that is specific to like the Sioux Falls market, and this is local stats coming from the Realtor Association of the Sioux Empire that makes up the Sioux Falls and the metro area and the surrounding counties. Median sale price year to date 2023 compared to 2022 is up 5.4% to a total of 284,450. So that's something to where in the specific market of the Sioux Falls, South Dakota market. If we're comparing this year to last year to date, we're seeing a 5.4% increase in the median sale price. So, very specific, but I mean, I think if you're trying to, paint a certain picture, you can find markets that maybe aren't doing very well. And say, oh yeah, prices are plummeting, and put that as your subject. And, if you're not diving into these articles and reading every word of each of the article, and then having at least a general understanding of real estate and how it works, you can get lost real quick with that kind of information.
Yeah, one thing that comes to mind is Florida, and I want to get Evan's perspective on this too from the insurance side of things. But you go down to Florida, right? You go into Hurricane Alley down in Florida. If a storm rolls through there, your home prices are probably going to roll down, right? People are probably going to be looking to get out of there because either if their home just got destroyed and maybe it's a second home for them, a vacation home, maybe it's a rental for them. It's like, man, do we want to continue to maybe deal with these types of storms that come in there? So then people leave and they get out of that area, and that would cause home prices to go down. And the reason why I bring Evan in is because I heard that there's a lot of insurance companies that are either increasing premiums in Florida or certain areas in Florida, or they're just completely getting out of the Florida market because of the storm potential.
Yeah, so it's kind of two different things. As far as housing prices in Florida, the desirable areas, the places that people have the vacation homes and stuff like that, we haven't seen that sort of downward trend. Even though you'd think there'd be downward pricing pressure. And I mean, candidly, the way I'd put it as a risk-averse person is there's always another sucker. Like if you are the person that has the vacation home in Florida and you've been through 5 hurricane seasons and you realize this is ridiculous. I don't really want to deal with having my roof repaired every few years or whatever. Like that sort of thing. When you put your house on the market, there are people clamoring for their retirement home or a second home in Florida still. There's just so much demand for being able to go down there that it's propping up that market. We haven't seen an exodus to the point that vacancies have risen in the Florida market. As far as insurance goes in Florida, they just passed some legislation that the government down there is hoping will help control the costs that insurance carriers are seeing and hopefully get premium under control. I don't think it's going to work personally. I think that ultimately speaking, it's chasing after a boogeyman problem rather than the real problem. The boogeyman problem being the really high rate of lawsuits, which is a real thing in Florida. And it may solve that problem, but it doesn't solve the hurricane problem. It doesn't solve the reinsurers not wanting to deal with gigantic catastrophic losses across the entire state every 3 years. Right. So I think that eventually we will see, right now, the reinsurance market, which is basically the really, really big insurance companies, they get together and they say, hey, everybody pay into this pool, and then we will help deal with large volume claims. They're all kind of threatening to pull out of the Florida market. And if that happens, there will just not be insurance available from standard carriers in Florida anymore. So if that happens, that is the catastrophe that would actually cause prices to fall. Because if you can't buy standard insurance for a home in Florida, you can't get a loan for a home in Florida. If you can't get a loan for a home in Florida, you can't pay $1.5 million for a 1,500 square foot home in the outskirts of Miami anymore. And if you can't do that, then you're buying a vacation home in Arizona instead of Florida. Right. So we'll see. The next 10 years are going to be very interesting, particularly in Florida, but a lot of the Southeast.
Yeah, it's definitely very interesting. You talk about some insurance too, Evan, and when we're talking about home ownership and now that inflation is where it's at. Obviously, that's a hot topic right now, and the powers that be are trying to continue to get that inflation to come down. Excuse me, and that can be one of those situations where maybe that was what pushed somebody over a debt to income ratio, where if they were looking a year ago before inflation played the factor that it has played, and rates gone up and maybe insurance has gone up, the cost of utilities have gone up, but hopefully we're looking at the opportunity to get some of that to come down in the future. If that's is that something that then the insurance industry is looking at, where if we can get inflation to come down, maybe insurance will come down as well?
I mean, it's incredibly doubtful. I mean, it's sort of like it's very rare for housing prices to actually come down. Normally they just level off, barring some sort of specific market abnormality. And that's true in the insurance world as well. There are some years where rate just kind of stays level, and there are years where rate goes up. It's very rare for rates to go down in any sort of substantial way. Maybe you'll see 1% or 2% reduction where it's like, oh yeah, we overcharged, but it's super rare. In fact, most of the time policies are behind where the inflation curve is,
Interesting. So they may go kind of, maybe short term, they might come up a little bit more over the next, call it 12 to 18 months. But, there's light at the end of the tunnel to where they may, plateau and then where you are, if you are looking to budget, whether you're looking to create this portfolio like the 27-year-old you had, Mike, or simply just being a first-time home buyer and saying, hey, this is what we could probably stomach for a budget, and everybody's pretty confident that things are going to be a little bit more stable. I think it's all good news.
Yeah, I mean, ultimately speaking, yes, if inflationary pressure ends, then the upward trend on insurance rates could be abated. The downside is insurance has another factor, which is localized claim volume that can affect your rates. It doesn't matter if we entered a deflationary period, seeing a retraction of the world market and the American dollar gets more valuable. And by inflation metrics, it's like, oh, wow, the price of milk went down by $1 a gallon or something like that. Insurance could still get more expensive because you might live in an area that sees an increased storm volume over the next 5 years. Or, when you're talking about like car insurance, it's a great example. If all of a sudden people are getting into more accidents, whether it's because winter is longer or whatever.
Or self-driving cars.
Well, you say that self-driving cars get in less substantial accidents per mile driven, which is generally the thing that drives auto insurance rates. But my point is that losses experienced is also a separate thing. So it's like, yeah, even if labor goes down in the housing market, and if you have more wildfires, if you have more tornadoes and things like that across the state, rates can still go up, even though inflation is a solved problem. So, sorry. That's the best news I've got for you.
But it goes with real estate too, right? A lot of people think, as interest rates go up, real estate prices go down. That's not the main driver, though. It's not the main driver. No. We have seen that prices have continued to go up on houses year over year. Last spring to this spring, they have gone up 5.4%, just like you said, Marcus. And interest rates went up. So interest rates went up, and median home prices went up. The main driver of real estate prices is supply and demand. That's the real driver. And with the low supply that we have out there and the demand being high, all these external factors, interest rates and all this other stuff, insurance costs, things like that, plays a small part in it. But the big part of home values is supply and demand.
Yeah, you could look at insurance as the demand is literally the rate of claims, right? Yeah. Demand for insurance isn't how many policies are sold, it's how many claims are made. And so if the demand goes up, prices go up.
Yep.
I feel like we saw that in our market, Evan, in the Sioux Falls area. I don't know if it's that micro, maybe it's a larger area that it covers to have any of these effects, but we had like two. I'm gonna mispronounce this term, but it's a derecho, I think is or something close to that. It's a windstorm, and I got caught in it. I was just headed to a final walkthrough prior to closing, and I was driving there, and we got hit with this derecho wind, and it was inside. It was full of small rocks, and my entire truck got it was like pin nicks out of the entire thing. So my whole truck got totaled because of this, and roofs got damaged, houses got damaged, tons and tons of vehicles got damaged because this was like right at work was getting done. It was like right at 5:00. So everybody was on the road trying to drive home, or they're still in the parking lot at their employer. And this sand rock storm came in and just crushed, tons and tons of cars, more than normally would have happened in a calendar year. And so, that I assume that's probably one of the reasons why my car insurance went up here recently.
Mm-hmm.
Well, very good stuff, guys. As always, if you're looking to get into real estate, make sure you reach out to your real estate professionals. Have a conversation with your realtor. If you don't have one, you can always reach out to us. Reach out to your mortgage professional, or you can always reach out to Mike Ouverson as well. So and he'll be happy to help you. Mike, I mean, you guys service, was it all 50 states or 48?
We're like in 46 states, so we can certainly help across most of the country here. So
that's true for us as well.
Yes. Yep. So, I mean, if you guys are looking for those type of quotes, reach out to Evan and reach out to Mike and reach out to Jason and I, and we'd be just ecstatic to help you guys out, whether it's just to answer questions or to kind of get that ball rolling for you. So we just want to thank you all for taking time to tune in live and to support our show, US Home Talk. As always, you guys can find today's show and all of our past shows on our website, ushometalk.com, or wherever you find your podcasts. I'm Marcus Walgrave, Jason Walgrave, Mike Ouverson, Evan Little, and we hope you have a blessed week.